Have you ever wondered, if the Bible is more than just a collection of laws and stories, what if it's actually one single epic romance? Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful metaphor that completely reimagines the relationship between heaven, earth, and all of us. It's a love story on a cosmic scale.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to follow a four-part journey that takes us from an initial kind of incomplete relationship right through a huge conflict and then to a final completely transformative union.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, at the dawn of creation, where this whole relationship between heaven and earth is first set up. But as you're about to see, there's a lot more going on here than you might think.
Okay, check this out. It's a small grammatical detail, but it is a massive clue. In the original text, the word for heavens is often plural, while earth is singular. Now, that's not some random mistake. It's actually the key that unlocks this entire metaphor.
And this is where that metaphor just bursts into life. Heaven is portrayed as the giver, right? The husband who provides the seed. And the earth? It's the receiver, the wife who takes that seed and brings forth life. This is way more than just a simple analogy. It's the very foundation of this cosmic romance.
But you have to understand, this first relationship, it's just the beginning. It's not the final state. It's a world defined by separation, a giver and a receiver. And all this does is set the stage for a much bigger story of love, loss, and eventually this incredible reunion.
Of course, like in any great love story, conflict is pretty much inevitable. So this simple relationship between heaven and earth, well, it quickly turns into a dramatic struggle, a battle for love itself.
Now, we're not talking about a war with swords and shields here. This is a spiritual battle, a fight for the heart of the bride, for the very soul of the earth. It's a cosmic drama, and the stakes could not be higher. So, remember that plural heavens we just talked about? Well, here's where it really comes into play. The story introduces a second suitor, a rival who's also after the bride's affection. All of a sudden, we've got two heavens, that's two men, and one earth, one woman, caught right in the middle. So this begs the big question, right? If the earth is the bride, then who on earth are these two competing husbands? The answer to this is the key to understanding this whole narrative.
And the source material lays out a really stark choice. On one side, you've got the fake husband. He represents this rigid, legalistic system. But on the other side, you have the true husband, Christ, who has come to win back his bride, not with rules, but with love and grace.
But this love triangle? It's not built to last. The arrival of the true husband marks a huge turning point. It's really the beginning of the end for this whole cosmic conflict.
And he doesn't just stumble onto the scene by accident. No, he arrives with a mission, with a purpose, to find and reclaim what is his. And in this story, the bride is all of humanity, every single believer on earth.
And look, this isn't just a creative interpretation. It is rooted deep in Scripture. You see passages like this one from Hosea that portray God's relationship with his people, not as a king and his subjects, but as a husband and his beloved wife. And then you have Paul, who in his letter to the Corinthians basically takes on the role of a divine matchmaker. He's preparing the church, right, the whole community of believers, to be this pure and devoted bride for her one true love, Christ. So with the true husband now on the scene, the competition is just over. The fake husband, that old legalistic way of doing things, is cast out. And that leaves the path totally clear for a true and lasting union. And we're not just talking about a marriage of convenience here. This is a complete and total merging of two beings into one. The analogy of the head and the body is so powerful because, one literally cannot exist without the other. And that's it. That is the culmination of the entire story. The divisions that once separated heaven and earth, husband and wife, they're just erased. The two become one, a single, totally harmonious being. So what happens when the bride and groom finally become one? Well, the result is a whole new creation, a new heaven and new earth, a reality that's been completely transformed by love. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about a new planet or some new universe. It's a new way of being. The new heaven and new earth is a spiritual reality. It's a state of perfect unity between believers and Christ, and it's something that's accessible right here, right now. So you might be asking, okay, how do you actually become this pure bride?
Well, the source suggests there's a path. It's a path of deep study, of actually going back to the original languages of the Bible, Hebrew and Greek, to truly understand and recognize Christ as the one true husband.
And this is the final, incredible transformation. The church is no longer just the bride. It actually embodies both the husband and the wife. The separation that kicked off our story is finally completely healed, and it's replaced by a perfect, harmonious union. It points to this kind of theological maturity where the believer is both receiving from and actively participating in the divine will.
So, there you have it. We've traced the entire story arc. We went from a state of separation and conflict, a giver and a receiver, through a dramatic love triangle, all the way to a final, complete unity where all those old distinctions just dissolve.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it? What if we've been reading the Bible all wrong? What if, underneath all the laws and the history, it's really the greatest love story ever told? A story of cosmic romance, of a love so powerful it bridges the gap between heaven and earth. What new truths might we find if we started reading it that way, with an open heart?